In January of 2019, the state of Washington generated a sales tax exemption for what they call green vehicles. These vehicles can be powered by alternative fuel, like maybe hydrogen, or more like electricity. And they can also be hybrid electric vehicles as long as they can go 30 miles on battery power. You can find this initial notice at the URL spelled out on the screen. And at the bottom of that notice, there is a link to another notice, much longer, that gives you a whole lot more detail on what you have to do to get this tax exemption. There are also links to a big funny form that you have to fill out and to the list of the allowed vehicles that can get this exemption. Getting all this to run was a huge amount of work on my part. It required changes to the inventory program, the deal program, and the admin program, and a recompilation of the quick quote program. We had to add an indicator in the inventory program that this vehicle was eligible for this sales tax exemption. This feature only exists in the new stretch version of the inventory program. If we have a vehicle that's eligible for this, in the inventory program, when you stock it in, go to the cost tab, and down here you'll find a little checkbox that says green. Check this box and then update it. That now makes this vehicle eligible, at least as far as vehicle type. There are cost considerations that may allow it or not, but we'll handle those later. So if we now go to the deal program and bring up that stock number and select a client, you will see that there is no taxable subtotal in this deal, even though there was a $5,000 price put on the car, which would normally be taxable. You'll see that there is a green bar here. The green bar signifies that there's no taxes because of the sales tax exemption. The rules for this are a bit complicated, but they're built into the program. Number one, the car must sell for less than $30,000. And you only get a maximum of $16,000 of a tax exemption. That is to say, if your car sells for $14,000, you get the complete exemption. But if it sells for $17,000, you still have to pay taxes on $1,000. If you have a trade-in, then that gives you even more of a tax exemption. When you go and print a purchase order, you will see that it understands that there is no taxable price. You'll also see over here I've added a green tax exemption disclosure so that somebody who's wondering why there's no taxes can see the reason. I've got about 1,300 forms in my database. I'm not going to go and change all 1,300 forms. So I've changed this purchase order. The contract does not seem to need to be changed. At least the law contract does not. So if there are any other forms that need to be changed, you, my clients, will have to tell me which ones they are, because I'm not going to go looking for them. The rules say that in addition to your regular forms, you have to print out a buyer's retail sales tax exemption certificate. This essentially is documentation as to why that you didn't charge the sales tax. The rules were made in 2019, and the most recent exemption certificate was published in June of 2020. As you can see on page 2, there's no place on this form that meets the criteria of what we've just done. Part A is close. It talks about batteries and fuel cells, but it doesn't talk about the vehicles themselves. So, not knowing what else to do, I've checked a box that I created myself called Green Vehicle. The E2SHB 2042 is the legislation that created all this. If somebody can tell me a better place to check, I will be happy to change the program to do that. At any rate, you don't send this anywhere, you just keep it in your file. So where all this started was when a client came to me and said that the 900 report didn't work anymore. So let's go to reports and then put in 900, which is the Washington sales tax report for the current month. So up here, we see the two cars that were sold, both in Washington. The top car is our green car. You can see the letter G here. The bottom car was just a retail car, although it did have a trade-in. So over here you can see there's no car sales tax came from the deal. For the first car, $864 came from the sales tax on the second deal. If we scroll down here, we'll see right here a new line item, green vehicle. This is the deduction to be made to the value of the cars to account for the sales tax deduction. And you can see we sold that car for $5,000 and the whole thing is deductible. If we scroll down further, we'll see our state and local sales tax area. So we started out with $15,000 worth of sales, but we had $5,500 in deductions. $5,000 of it from the green vehicle and $500 from the trade-in, giving us $9,500 total for the month, times 650 gets $617.50. And then we do the county part, which is $218.50, and then we do the motor vehicle part, which is $28.50. And so the total amount of sales tax is $864.50, which matches the sales tax from the first page of $864.50. This thing has no effect on the B&O tax.
I would really recommend that you download the special notice. It's 4 or 5 pages long. It's difficult to understand. But one of the things in it, if you have not been giving this sales tax deduction to clients since 2019, that you can have them apply for a refund. And of course, I want to hedge on this and say I could be wrong about all this. I've tried to read the documentation. I've tried to put that into the program as best I can, but who knows? If you're going to use this function, you need to do your homework, read the documentation, and very carefully go over the first few deals to make sure that you think they're being calculated correctly. I need to note that all these programs, the admin program, the inventory stretch program, the deal program, and the quick quote program all need to have a build date as of 3rd of February 2021 or later.